So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our exciting online event, Learning and Development, Preparing for 2030, Reinventing or Innovating. My name is Kiran Sharma, and I'm delighted to be your host today. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers and a moderator who will guide us through an insightful discussion on the future of learning and development. So, as we look ahead to 2030, the landscape of learning and development is rapidly evolving. The way we train, develop, and support our workforce must adapt to meet the challenges and opportunities of the future. Today, we will explore innovative strategies and transformative ideas that will help us stay ahead of the curve. So, going ahead with our moderator, today is AD Atreyda, a seasoned learning and development professional and a global learning and development partner at Biocon Biologics Limited. With an engineering degree, MBA in HR, and a certification in people analytics, Atriya has over a decade of diverse experience across industries like BPO, IT, finance, telecom, medical, and pharma. An NLP practitioner and Gallup Clifton Strengths coach, she excels in strategically aligning individual and organizational needs. Her top Gallup Clifton strengths include significance, win over others, focus, positivity, and intellection. Please join me in welcoming our moderator, Atriya Dam. Introducing our first speaker, Sonal Mishra. She is a dedicated learning and development head with over 14 years of experience in the financial industry, currently leading strategic training initiatives at a Fortune 50 global IT distribution firm. Sonal has a proven track record in establishing end-to-end learning divisions and aligning training objectives with business goals. She is committed to fostering a culture of continuous learning and driving results through targeted training strategies and data driven decision making. Having worked over a decade with Kotak, followed by Wisdom, she now leads learning and development at Ingram Micro. Please welcome Sonal Mishra. As to our second speaker, next we have Loveleen Andrew, a seasoned professional with 15 years at NIIT as DGM School Learning Solutions, followed by 13 plus years at Polaris as Vice President and currently Director of Talent Development at Virtusa. Loveleen excels in talent strategizing, partnering with business units, and practice groups to deliver learning services with budgets and timelines. Skilled in designing, implementing, and managing customized training programs, she optimizes organizational knowledge and efficiency. Her expertise spans the entire training life cycle, and she has been instrumental in defining and driving competency development within organizations. Please welcome Loveleen Andrew. Our third speaker is Anju Dhawan, the Senior Director and Global Learning Leader for Operations and Technology at Marsh. With over 15 years at Mercer as Principal and SVP of Global L&D, Anju has headed strategic roles in learning and development, leveraging IT technology to enhance professional and technical development for over 10,000 colleagues worldwide. She has been instrumental in defining the strategic direction for colleague development, designing and implementing development structures, and fostering skill development, retention, and engagement. Anju's extensive experience in strategy, learning management, and change management makes her a true leader in this field. Please welcome Anju Dhawan. I'm sure we'll have an incredible session ahead filled with innovative ideas and forward thinking discussions. So, without further ado, I will hand it over to our moderator, AD Atri Dham, to kick off the session. Great to have you all online, and let's enjoy this enlightening event together. Over to you, AD.
Thank you very much, Kiran. I guess it was so heavy. We were all going, everybody's cabins were going a little bit, a lot of focus. Okay, all right. So as we move on to our panel discussion, thank you very much, Kiran, for a wonderful introduction that has been given to for Anju. We have Sonal, we have Loveleen out here, and tremendous experience. And I would really love to host this, kind of moderate this rather. And of course, if I talk about the topic for today, so learning and development, and we are talking about preparing for 2030. It's kind of forward thinking. Now, when we talk about L&D and the numbers together, that too with the transformations, I guess that's a huge thing and it's a huge burden. But when we are trying to overcome that, that's going to be really challenging and amazing. So any transformation needs quite a lot of dedication and a lot of strategic approaches. So before we actually get into the forward thinking, let's first understand what is the current state of L&D right now. So to start with the discussion, I'll go with Loveleen first because her extensive experience into talent development right now. So how do you think, or what do you really think that what are the primary challenges what the L&D is facing as on today?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Um, you know, we are living in a world where agility is the sound bus, right? So, organizations are striving to be agile when it comes to learning and development of its employees. So, improving the organization's agility to meet the business goals and the business learning goals as we move forward, and employees getting more and more empowered with the various challenging environment that they are working with. It's really becoming a big challenge to the L&D function. While the organization is really grouping up with the dynamic situation that is happening because of the market constantly changing needs, the agility that the organization can bring in order to meet these learning needs on time is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing today. Secondly, I would also say that when it comes to the infrastructure part of it, in terms of resources in general, the inadequacy in terms of the infrastructure and the resources is also posing a big problem when it comes to, because it affects the speed and the conviction with which we need to meet the learning needs. We are living in the era of cloud, and all of us know how expensive in order to have a private cloud, and moreover to have it in the context of learning and development. Yes, so that is also another challenge that the organizations face today in order to bring in that kind of investment for the infrastructure that will easily facilitate the learning, right? And probably the third, the reason is the constantly changing, the dynamic market. Okay, so the organization's agility to meet its business goals and comprehend with the challenges that they have with the employees, to make learning as part of their culture, and the kind of investment that they should bring in for the resources and the infrastructure, and plus adding to the market being dynamic, are the predominant challenges that the organizations are facing today. But however, having said that, I think all organizations understand all these challenges to a very great extent. So they are, finding innovative methods in order to stay agile when it comes to the learning and development of its employees.
All right, that's an amazing thing because one word, I guess, if I talk about organizations' agility, that is, of course, it is increasing. Now, when we move into the agility, of course, the next question definitely goes to Sonal, being into IT industry for a long time. So, how do you, or what do you think that what is the role of the technology and which is like influencing our L&D strategies in recent years?
Firstly, uh, hi everyone, and I'm so glad to be a part of the panel discussion. And I'm here to share my thoughts and hear everyone else's thoughts as well. Coming to Atri's question, I think there's nothing that's been untouched by technology, and of course, in the last 5 to 7 years, the kind of penetration that we've seen uh, technology doing in the L&D space is pretty phenomenal. I mean, I remember when I used to be on the other side of the learning, uh, we used to be, it was just a very traditional one size fit all kind of learning culture. I need it or I do not. I am being put in the classroom. So that was the kind of it. And even uh, the e-learnings existed, but they were just L1 and L2. They were just plain vanilla courses that people were doing. There was nothing that was really happening in the space as far as technology was concerned. Now, cut to now, today, the game has entirely changed. Now, you look at it, I mean, the kind of revolution that's happening in the L&D space, be it in the the kind of LMSs that are developing now, the e-learnings, micro learnings, the mobile learnings, it's amazing. And the way the whole self-paced learning is evolving is tremendous. And you know not just this, blended learning has become like a norm. Earlier we used to look at it as one of these strategies. Now it's just there. It's like a given that this is how you're going to be doing your sessions. So yeah, that again, blended learning is one of the things. And then what more? Data analytics. Yeah, data analytics is playing a very huge role. Uh, it's helping us understand the gaps that are there, and make our interventions very, very pointed and focused, so that it's not again the one size fit all, but the whole personalized learning approach can be built when it comes to delivering these learnings. Because right now, these days, the trend is that the learner does not want to be sitting for long hours in a classroom and just going through an intervention just because the other colleagues or the entire function is going through it. Everybody wants very, very focused to the point learning these days. And I think technology has been playing a huge role in delivering that. And now, one more thing, because I come from the IT landscape, we have a lot of requirement for very, very technical training. So subscription-based platforms are again playing a very, very huge role. Earlier, and till few years back, not even in just my organization, but I've seen that in a lot of IT organizations, wherein an employee comes, joins in, and they have to go through rigorous month to 2 month long training programs. But all of that has been erased now, because of these subscription based platforms. You enroll for the courses, and then at your own pace just complete it. No need to be sitting long hours in these classrooms. So I think, yeah, all in all, there's been a lot of evolution that has happened because of technology in L&D, and I think this is just the start. We're going to be seeing a lot more happening in the coming few years. So that's my take on it.
Amazing. Thank you very much for sharing. Because when you talk about those traditional methods, and right now, because even the traditional method talks about 70s to 20s to 10. But even now, when we are talking about our blended learning, the 70s to 20s to 10 is also transformative. So it's also transformed. Now, with
Yeah,
that,
right.
because yeah, and the initiatives, if I talk about, because quite a lot of methodologies we are using for particular initiatives. So to connect that, I'll ask Anju if you can share some example of any L&D initiative that has made some significant impact in your organization or past history, anything.
Thanks so much, Chatri, and thank you, Lavleen and Sonal. As I mean, in just building on the challenges and technology transformation that both of them highlighted, like organization agility, infra. I'll just add one more element to Sonal. What you have just mentioned is the learner's experience, and it's like while there are big bang program as offerings, and there is a lot of investment in terms of infrastructure, blended methods, what defines a success. What we invest into is the learner's experience. I mean, we are dealing with diverse set of participants, be it CXOs, leaders, managers, millennials, and Gen Z. So the learning models itself are pivoting. Technology is playing its own role. So it's even more complex to make the learning more impactful and value driven. And Atri, coming back to the question in terms of L&D initiatives and impact, well, I can think of many successful stories like Mercer OpenStack. Even I come from technology and had been implementing learning solutions for technology, and which made huge impact how upskilling 1,000+ colleagues on Mean Stack brought a strategic learning need to digital transformation, and with right shoring to onboard and skill up 1,200+ roles virtually in an unpredictable pandemic environment, like with effective learning, training solutions, brought a level of resiliency and strategic change. But today I want to throw some light on what we are currently focusing on and how it is making an impact at an organization level, which is global onboarding launchpad for our new and existing colleagues at Marsh. I mean, this seems so basic, but yet so deep, as in a fast paced world, colleagues are so busy on their day jobs. They join, they do the necessary on the job training for their respective assignments and land up on their operational tasks without having a full understanding and the holistic picture, holistic aspect of business operations on what we are doing. So, do we really know that big what piece? So, this is a step towards that what, bringing them closer to business, understand business insights, get an umbrella view to the technical aspects. And that's where we came up with a global onboarding solution as a business and learning strategy for Marsh operations, which is all about to understand the insurance broking cycle, various stages of insurance broking, the role of a broker in the various stages, and how do we really enhance our learning experiences using blend of e-learning content, bite-sized videos, recorded SME sessions, all in one box. Also, how do we really leverage the platforms, the learning platforms like Degreed as a self-serve content and add to the skill development? So I want to talk about, this program, this initiative really made a huge impact. And in fact, this is still working on. We have various learning pathways which efficiently onboard and train new joiners in insurance domain, capability development, core competencies like client service, innovation, learning orientation. The blended courses and videos enable all the curious learners of various experience levels. And, there is so much opportunity to cross train, raise skill and upskill across value streams. I also want to touch upon, another piece where we established a community of practice across globe who bring the best of their regional learning experiences, where we curated curriculum following agile methodology that is evolving incrementally. And it goes far beyond to curate the best content where we got our business leaders, operational leaders engaged and got the content reviewed, which is like a baseline, and it becomes like a global, consistent, standard onboarding solution for anyone which is region agnostic and accessible as a one-stop shop for all 10,000+ colleagues at Marsh Ops level. Lot of things to this initiative that we are working on, like for the gamification aspect being added to it. And one thing which I want to highlight in terms of, what is adding on the top of it. Right now, the key aspect is colleagues using it as a part of their business strategy. And business values this as a part of their learning strategy. And this program is an initiative by L&D, but then partnering with operations teams, leaders, the value stream owners, and then making it like a comprehensive learning solution as a go-to hub. So that's really making a lot of difference. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because there are quite a few things that you have talked about, and this is really going quite exciting because you started with digital transformation, and then when you talked about while doing this transformation, the resilience or the resistance, I guess both these things have to be in place. And with all the reskilling and the upskilling of the programs and how you have changed it to a bit of gamification as well. So the next question, Loveleen, if you would like to answer, like what emerging technologies do you think will have that most significant impact on L&D? L&D now, because when Anju has talked about this digital transformation and then connecting to the gamifications, the initiative, the global onboarding that she has talked about, please.
Yeah. So, if you have to look at what is the technology that's going to have a big impact on L&D, actually today it goes without saying that Gen AI is going to be, mantra again, which is going to have a huge impact. I think it's been talked over in all forums and it's going to have a worldwide impact. Nevertheless, learning segment is not going to be left without it, right? And I'm sure and I'm very positive about how Gen AI is going to bring about a lot of positive impact on the learner and the learning as a segment, you know. So, in fact, when we talk about skilling, employees need to, have the right content available with them when they need to either learn or upskill, from their current proficiency level. So, Gen AI, I'm sure, is going to play a big role in bringing the contextual content available to the learner 24 by 7, right? And in the last segment, we talked about what are all the challenges that the organization is going through with. And one of the biggest challenges that I think we didn't touch upon in depth is about the skill gap, right? So the organization, the skill landscape that is available, and the business goals that needs the kind of skilling that is required, the gap has to be identified first. And today, I think organization is really struggling to find out where the gap lies and how do we sort of equip their employees in order to meet those skill gaps. And I'm sure Gen AI is going to help us, all the leaders, to a very great extent in terms of identifying the skill gap, which will be sort of a boom, a boon, big boon to the L&D segment. And everybody, all of us talk, especially in the learning arena, all of us talk about personalized learning paths, right? So I'm sure, again, while already it is in existence, but then Gen AI is going to take a leap forward in terms of the personalized learning paths. Or there are already tools which are available in order to make or create intelligent learning paths based on the skills that are required. So definitely, in fact, we have already started seeing some of the e-learning players, the global players, approaching us and sharing with us, how Gen AI is going to help with their, the learning platforms. I would also like to touch upon the combo effect of Gen AI tools with the various other learning tools that we are having in the market. So probably with an e-learning platform and probably with an assessment platform, the combination of the Gen AI intelligence going into these tools is going to help us a great deal. So especially again, when it comes to identifying the proficiency levels of the employees. Okay, all said and done, today we have not reached a matured model in that, right? So especially with now the Gen AI tools, I presume that it'll help us a lot. It'll bring a lot of insight into learning, and thereby help us in order to identify, define, and then build the strategies around it in a much faster pace than what was done earlier. And this also, I believe, with the Gen AI, penetrating it deeper and deeper, the collaborative learning. In fact, thanks, Anju, you brought in that, point of, the collaborative and the community learning. I think with the help of Gen AI, again, that's going to have a leap bound. It's going to attract and facilitate and catalyze the similar group learners, which will help big way to the L&D function as well. And I also sort of predict that learning will soon get intertwined with the work. We talk about learning culture, right? But yes, we have seen a lot of movements happening when it comes to the learning culture. But at this point of time, again, with Gen AI tools, I think this will become to put into practice, learning becoming a way of life is also going to be much, 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 much easier. So, in fact, really looking forward to how this Gen AI is going to, be a big, if I have to use the word blessing, to the L&D segment.
Beautiful, because and you have finally taken up the term Gen AI into the forum. And with that, of course, we have, and the most important part is like skill gaps. And when we talk about skill gaps, this is something it is going on and on, that we have to find out some innovative ways to fill in those skill gaps, right? So with that, I'll come to Sonal, and would like to understand now, the personalized learning journeys are already there. We are getting into that scope. We are getting into that space. And how do you think that, is this the only way? Like, how can organizations can foster a continuous learning environment?
Well, AD, in my opinion, the answer to creating a culture of continuous learning lies in doing the basics right. If we are able to do the basics right, I think creating that kind of a culture becomes very easy. But and then what do I mean by doing the simple or the basic things right? Starting by having the right kind of infra for L&D, which means having the, like Lovely mentioned in the first question that you asked to her, having the right infra in terms of the resources for L&D, a good LMS platform. Uh, so that's one thing. Start from having a good infra around L&D. The one thing that, in my opinion, plays a major role is collaboration with business teams. I think L&Ds, many a times I've seen L&Ds working in silos on certain initiatives. I believe L&D has to be a part of the business strategy. And L&D in silos cannot run and cannot give you the results that you're looking for if it's not integrated with the business strategy. So that is one thing that has to be set right from the start if L&D has to win. Otherwise, in my opinion, we can make whatever fancy plans, whatever amazing programs we can, but if we do not have the business collaboration, I don't think the entire plan will succeed to what we would want to set it out for. So that's one. That's the second thing. Thirdly, because you also mentioned about the continuous learning and innovation part, I think as L&D leaders, we need to be on top of what's coming new in terms of innovation, and innovation not in just the learning space, but overall, what's the kind of trend that's happening around? Because today we have all kind of learners in the organization. I mean, in my organization, I have a 22-year-old as well as a 50-year old person also working. So I have to cater the need of all of these boomers till Gen Z. So how do I do that? I have to keep looking out for what's in trend, what will fit in with which kind of learner. So it has to be, innovation has to be at learner level, and for that L&D has to be very, very vigilant in terms of what's going to work with whom, and then cater to their requirements in a very personalized manner. Because at the end of the day, the learner has to see value in what they are getting. If I don't see value, maybe today I'll attend your program, tomorrow I would not be keen to do that. So then that whole continuous cycle learning will not happen, because they did not see value in what we were wanting to. So that's another important thing, in my opinion, that needs to be set right. And then, of course, the learner also has to, from one is value from the learners, and second is what am I getting out of it. So maybe learning has to be integrated with some kind of boost in their KRAs, or or show them some kind of a learning curve or a career journey transformation. These are some of the things that maybe has helped me in sort of creating the culture for a continuous learning in the organizations that I've worked with. And hence, I these are the ones that I would suggest are some of the things that the others on the forum can try, or the listeners can try and experiment with in their respective organizations.
Okay, perfectly, because the favorite FM channel for anybody in the organizations, it's WIIFM. What's in it for me? So that is the only channel. So anybody talks about it, and the L&D people, L&D folks are coming to the employees that this is a personalized learning journey for you. Till then, because right now we are doing that, but previously we were like any programs we are doing, all the program management that we have done. So yes, it's a thing. Now, what is the trend or the programs or the initiatives which are coming into the space right now? Going back to Anju to understand, like, what are the new skills you think or the competencies will be very much critical or crucial for the workforce in coming 2030?
Sure. And this is really interesting. Whenever we talk about new skills, competencies, upskilling, transformation, I mean, all these words ring bell in our head. Sonal just talked about, WIFM. We all are realizing this, this FM channel. So we are experiencing the skills are constantly evolving as the pace of learning has become so fast in this VUCA world, right? L&D is becoming an instrument of strategic change means to structured skill career development. And most of us can resonate the era when learning meant to us that we need to be good with communication, presentation skills, etc. Like a very simple one, what Sonal has talked about, like she said that, she was at the other side, and it was a very, very simple and traditional methods of providing the trainings, right? Today, how the skill level changed to from this traditional method to asking questions in terms of the skills itself, asking questions, storytelling. As it evolved further, we prepared our workforce to be ready for the future, meaning change agility, emotional agility, even mental well-being during the time of pandemic. So this that became another skill set for our colleagues. And work is now about agility, the ability to adapt, right? Taking on the new roles quickly and efficiently. And business is now looking at core competencies as client service, critical thinking. So learning is at the core of this. And it is enabling the workforce resilience. And I mean, workforce can no longer just rely on pre-existing knowledge, but must figure out how to continuously learn, be curious, and retain a critical mindset. And today, on the skilling needed, if I take a quick pause, stop my breath for 5 seconds, and allow you all to think of the skill, what comes to our minds for upskilling? If I just take a quick pause, what are those two alphabets that are on our mind. Yeah. I mean, are we not breathing AI? And then we can't ignore, but we have to prepare our workforce how learning this skill, becoming AI savvy to AI champions will impact or make our lives easy. I mean, to make us productive, efficient, and we all must have some level of knowledge. Believe me or not, I remember in 1993, 4 during my post graduation, I had one textbook as a part of my curriculum, artificial intelligence. When I was going through, things were going over my head. What are they talking about? Like these AI algorithms can do wonders. And today it has turned true. In 20, 30 years, we are seeing this happening, what we did not believe during our academics, right? So as we are progressing in next 5, 6 years, I see AI, Loveleen has, articulated it so robustly that Gen AI, I mean, it's definitely a part of our life, like Outlook and other technologies are, right? So as learning and development, our role is crucial in leading and implementing a strategy for the constant renewal of the core capabilities. At the same time, I also want to reflect on the business aspect of learning as a skill, where another crucial skill that would be needed for our workforce is business value, business impact. It's like getting people close to business, making them learn the domain side of business. Sonal just emphasized how L&D has to be a part of the business strategy, right? I mean, there is so much of tacit knowledge lying around how we leverage, connect, establish partnerships, build community of practices, both internally and externally, to advance the business of business itself. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there we can see that while we focus on the capability development skills and the way we really evolved from a conventional level to an emotional agility, then we are talking about the AI we cannot get rid of. But at the same time, I think we have to really develop skills to be closer to the business, get get the real business outcomes. So I'll stop here.
This is something I just loved what you just now said, Anju. Like it's like from moving from that conventional way to the emotional agility, and then finally we are again connecting to the business strategies. So I guess the next question again goes back to Loveleen only because you started with Gen AI. So how do you really think that implementation of this Gen AI, and we are as an L&D, how we are aligning ourselves well with the business strategies and the objectives?
I think this is one of the toughest, things to put into practice. But however, I would say from whatever I've seen in the so many years of being in the learning segment, I personally feel the triad model. When I say triad model, the CEO of the organization working very, very closely with the chief people officer or the HR head and with the chief learning officer, you know. So I call it as a triad model, right? These three people become the fulcrum, and it has to be a top-down approach, right? So when these three people work together, the CEO knows what is the business strategy, the chief people officer and the CLO, they know and can define what can be the learning business goals in alignment with the business strategy, right? So I think it should start from there. And I think some of the organizations, most of the organizations, I think I should say, I really have understood the importance of the strategy being built for the organization for learning should come in from the top. So that's very, very important, so that it slowly percolates down the level, right? To the right from the org level to the business group levels, then might be at an account level or at the project level, and that are then at the individual employee level. So this is one very important thing. And then I feel that the competency framework that the organization defines, right? That will help the L&D to work very closely, focusing the business, objectives that the organization has set for. Now, this is going to be difficult because we have also seen and organizations have tested multiple frameworks. So, probably few years back we call it as role competency model. Now we are talking about skill competency model. And so on and so forth. So it's going to be tough, but I think we are slowly evolving, learning from the past, and also, again, with the changes in the industry, we need to sort of align our framework. So I would say that while the competency framework has to be a robust one, an overarching framework, it is like building blocks, right? But it also needs to have some dynamic blocks. So it can't be one very robust and a very strong model that cannot be cannot be sort of disseminated. It has to have those robust blocks in place, plus those dynamic blocks smartly built in, so that as the business strategy, in alignment with the business strategy, but then when there is a change, the whole framework is also a little bit of flexible enough to accommodate those changes. And this brings in the speed and the agility to meet the business needs and also the learning goals. So it's a little tricky, but at the same time, it's not that it's not doable. Probably once the framework is defined, I see most of the things when it comes to defining, it all looks all glorious, but when it comes to the execution, it has its own challenges. But I think with the management and the senior leaders having gone through this 2 3 iterations with the different models, I think they are also learning, and I'm seeing that a mature framework can evolve from a competency and a skill perspective. So this is one, so this will help L&D in order to align more and more with the goals that the organization has set for. And I think both Sonal and Anu touched upon the point in some format or the other when it comes to how the various functions and the stakeholders have the knowledge and the wisdom of understanding the impact of the business goals as well. So I would say we need to have a core group. I would also probably call it as an evangelist group, which will have champions from the various functions, probably a competency champion. Then it has to be one L&D champion. There has to be one RM champion, the resource manager, and the champion from the business group, and so on and so forth. The key stakeholders can form a core group, and this core group should be well aware of what are the business goals, and hence what will be the what are the changes quickly that needs to be done, or what are the training programs or the learning initiatives that has to be done quickly, so that all the learning needs are met on time, and thereby the business goals are also met on time. This is doable, but this group has to work very, very closely, and that is how the business strategies can be implemented successfully. And last but not the least, of course, the performance management part, right? Definitely the KRAs should have some percentage of, leave alone, I think the mandatory learning and all of that, I think it goes without saying. We're not talking about that. We're talking about what were the need of the hour, and how did people upskill themselves, and how did the team lead help that, how did the manager help that, and how did the business group help that. That's where the it has to be sort of assessed, and performance from performance parameters from a learning perspective has to be very, very seriously adhered to, and senior leaders should also be, coaches or mentors to their peers or the team members, because that is what is going to help influence the learning culture in the organization. I think all of these will definitely help L&D to more and more closely understand the business objectives, and also see what can be done and achieve what can be done in order to meet the learning needs.
Perfectly, because I guess you have articulated very well with when you talked about the competency framework, which I guess most of the organizations are right now adopting it, because we are moving from those role-based competencies right now into the skills.
Skill
So
based.
most of the organizations, we are naming ourselves as skills-first organizations also, right? So when we are moving into quite a lot of frameworks and how do you measure, like Sonal, if you can answer, like how do you think the organizations are going to measure the long-term impact of their L&D initiatives?
I think Loveleen started the response to your question by saying that, it's very difficult to uh, align L&D with
Yes.
the business strategy. But how do you, and if you have aligned your business strategy, how do you measure the results? Through the impact. So then that itself becomes very, very challenging when you have to show that, this is the impact that we've created. We were aligned with the business strategies. We ran certain programs, but how do you now come on to measuring those impact? So yeah, and I think it's very important because once we are able to show the business the kind of impact that L&D can bring in or can have on, with the around the business strategy, the faith in L&D goes up. And the next time when L&D when it comes to including L&D, like I mentioned in my earlier the response to my earlier questions, uh, it automatically will flow because they've seen the impact of L&D previously. So it's I think, in my opinion, it's very important to be able to measure the long-term impact and show the impact that the initiatives have created. Now, how do we do that? I think we can start by being very, very aligned with the organization goals. What are the broad organization's goal, and how L&D goals are going to be in sync with those organization goals? That's the most challenging parts, but that is where uh, the impact will come in. If I am aligned, my initiatives, my programs, and everything that I'm doing is aligned with the broad goals that the organizations laid out for, I think we are in the right path and the impact will come, if not sooner than later. Also, every time that we plan a program, an intervention, the objectives have to be very, very defined. I mean, what is it that I'm going to be achieving by through this program? And how am I going to measure those impacts? Some could be quantifiable, but some will not be quantifiable. So that is very important. Every time that we think of putting a program out there, coming up with an intervention, I need to ask myself as L&D, what is it that I'm going to achieve it, and ask the stakeholders, what is it that you want to achieve out of it, and then figure out how are you going to be measuring that impact. If it is not quantifiable, then see what are the other ways that you can measure that impact. For example, it's pretty easier to measure the impact of the functional intervention. I'll give you an example. Currently, my organization is going through a huge transformation wherein bringing a we're trying to put in a platform uh, for our clients. It'll be like any other platform, like an Amazon or a Flipkart. Now, for example, if I want my sales team to develop platform capabilities, I want them to increase the what is it that I want them to achieve? I want them to increase their platform adoption. How do I measure it? I can measure it by knowing how many features of the platform are these associates using. So when it comes to functional intervention, it's still much easier. I can check their KRAs and I can see the impact that an intervention, a program has brought in. So it's easier to see the needle movement happening there. But a lot of times, it becomes a little challenging for us to measure the behavioral interventions, the impact of the behavioral interventions. And of course, those kind of impacts takes time uh, to come to be visible, but they can always be, and because they are of course not quantifiable, and these are more on the skill and the competency level, and hence you know measuring those kind of impacts take time. However, we can do a lot of use a lot of mechanisms to again measure those impacts. For example, like 360-degree feedback, go speak with take feedbacks from their peers, from their subordinates, from their managers. Um, you will see the change in behavior over a period of time. Those are some of the things that can be done. Also, keep the regular feedback impact measurements channels, whatever they are within your organization flowing. For example, employee surveys again are a good way to see uh, a lot of questions in the employee surveys which are directed directly or indirectly towards L&D strategies will tell you uh, if your interventions have paid off via lot many ways. Like if an example employee says that, you know, they rate you good on job satisfaction, knowledge support is another way of knowing that the impact is coming in. Again, analyze the challenge in terms of the productivity or KRAs, enhancing increase of the efficiency or the output. I mean, these are some of the ways that can be used to measure short-term and long-term impact.
Yes, if you talk about long-term, short-term impacts, and also with that, the broader goals or the KRA that Loveleen has also talked about, that when we are going to include them in our goals, or when we are relating it to our business goals, then definitely, because yes, the behavioral skills, we cannot really have that quantifiable impact. But yes, of course, if we talk about attritions or the retention rates, so yes, there are some numbers which L&D is always getting or trying to getting aligned with the business. And with that, of course, Anju has led quite a lot of digital transformations in her organizations, in whichever you were associated with, Anju. So my next question, of course, what role you have played, or the leadership always play in driving this kind of transformations of L&D?
Thanks, Heidi. I would say so. First of all, maybe I'll keep myself aside and generally talk about the leadership itself. You know how they play this a significant role in driving the transformation. I mean, leadership plays a paramount role. It's significant in terms of sponsoring and providing a commitment. And I'll answer this question in two parts in terms of the leadership itself. You know, one is partnership and the other is funding. I mean, as we go undergo rapid transformations, we talked about technology advancements. I believe we have come a long way in the last decade where you do not need leadership buy-in anymore. The acceptability is already there in organizations. We have leadership sponsorship. We already have a seat at the table. I mean, you are the part of their business vision strategy. It's about how well we as L&D leverage that power as an enabler, as a game changer, as a value driven and data insightful catalyst. So, learning has become leadership discipline. And they want us to build a learning ecosystem. Like last year, when I stepped up to a role from Mercer to Marsh as a global L&D leader, I met many of the leadership stakeholders in the operations and technology team, and everyone was so keen to build an ecosystem. They say that, we have so much of rich content. We have all the, technical domain. We have SMEs all around. All we need is to get it all together. How do we collaborate? Loveleen talked about the collaborative learning. So, uh, first of all, where we foresee this challenge as that we need to connect with business, I think we have to make more partnership with business. So I'll just rephrase it in a way. We have to establish those leadership connects, and we have to take initiatives to build those partnership and gain that trust. They're buying all there. We have to show them the outcomes. I know it's hard. And at the same time, I'll just go back to reflect on some of the challenges. Long back, we used to deal with the challenge of getting the sizable quorum in training sessions, right? And as a function, it was a push model from our side to leadership with reporting of no shows, compliances, defaulters, and all of that. Today's state, if you look at today's state, it has grown to a level where leadership wants the learning to happen, though people are too busy in their day jobs, right? And that it took the shape of, to me, and that's how, I mean, I'm personally viewing it as, it took the shape of a push model from leadership to the organization, to their colleagues. Yeah. Uh, Today's, I mean, and if you see how it is shaping up, where it's the part of our business goals. I remember 3-to-1 rule set as a part of the business strategy while goal setting, where 3 should be your delivery goals, 2 should be your on-the-job goals, and 1 should be your learning goal as a mandatory one for colleagues to invest, build capability, and focus on their skill development. So, whatever age we live in, one consistent challenge for us is to making the people invest in learning, stay up to date, and get ready for future skills at work, right? And the challenge is a combined one for leadership and L&D together as the partnership is getting stronger. Our leaders are not only looking at the organic learning and people to grow, but they want their workforce to be ready. They want their managers to drive accountability. They want to help people grow and build their careers. And leadership challenges also, with so much on the learning resources along with our day jobs. This is as fresh as of this week only. When I went to a workshop, it was like a leadership workshop where I had to present. It was like the role of people managers in learning. And I talked about a PM navigator, people manager navigator, that, it's like a prescriptive pathway to navigate them on their various leadership levels. Like if you are at a leadership level 1, you can go through these paths, and how the various learning sources, blended learnings, e-learnings, articles, as well as the live workshops can help them as a prescriptive, since it is so overwhelming. But the challenge for them was that along with our day jobs, they said, Anju, while we understand and realize fully that we need to invest on our development, but how do we ensure that with our people managers, leaders, it is institutionalized? Do they need constant reminders? We have structures. How do we know the skill level of our colleagues are improving? And this is a real challenge. Like Sonal just talked about, that we cannot quantify everything. It's I mean, we are talking about the frameworks. Loveleen talked about the competency framework. So we know in principle, not spiritual one, but yeah, in principle, we know that all these frameworks are there, but how do we measure? And it's as a prevalent constraint since ages. We all are trying to solve. Yeah. Right. I'll now touch the funding part also, and I know it's a budget day today. Well, it's setting the appropriate investment level, the actual monetary amount invested, in learning in the organization. Critical one for creating value, perhaps the most important issue in setting the strategy, right? And with the fast pace of technology, we all talked about adaptive learning, simulations, data. We all need to exhibit the business value, and there has to be thought through investment for learning. And I mean, we all have been going through it. In and we know that we have to invest as long as there is a payoff. It's like, using a measurement system to understand the value of learning and development compared with the investment. So all this, in terms of the monetary, but also in terms of the resources as well, their own time investment, the leaders' own time investment, setting right strategies together. And I'll share one quick best practice here. As you asked a question as a leader, I'm also leading this learning and development, and we have a wonderful concept of PDC, People Development Committee, who is a group of individuals across teams and across themes across the globe, where there is an accountability, objective, structure, all that has been laid out to develop people via career work stream, learning work stream, rewards and recognition, well-being, and on the top, we have people activation teams to amplify the practices, build advocacy across the regions. I would say this is an amazing initiative and effort, and on the top, commitment by leadership to sponsor, invest in PDC. Also, it's not a dedicated team that is hired for purpose, but a dedicated effort by 80 plus volunteers to believe the power, like bring their unique experiences and make the difference. I sit on the core team of this PDC and also a career and learning advisory. But if I tell you that the PDC group itself is headed by two senior leaders who are so passionate about setting up the right culture on the career. They are our business stakeholders. They are CEOs of the region. So they are driving it so well, and people are coming up across the globe. I think we all talked about, we all realized that there has to be a collaborative experience required. So people need to come forward, and this is really working very well. I mean, I love PDC. The concept, it's working well. Yeah, thank you.
This is so good to hear this particular initiative that you are leading right now, Anju. And of course, when you talked about thought through investments in learning, so when what is that thing? What, because Sonal mentioned about data analytics. Now, how we are leveraging this data analytics in that thought process, that we have to invest in learning, that how you think, because it is one of the challenges, because anyway the leadership will always give a second thought to it, that shall we go for this or not. We are talking about gen AI, we are talking about some fancy technology, because of course we are talking about something down the line, 6 years down the line. So what do you really think that data analytics can play a good role in facing those L&D challenges?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's so related. And if you look at the changing landscape of L&D, we have already pivoted from the traditional approach to L&D, like classroom-based training and paper-based assessments, right? We are already making strides by adopting a more dynamic and agile approach to learning. I mean, where technological advancements and information are constantly evolving. And this shift towards digital learning platforms like e-learning, on-the-job learning makes it necessary a corresponding shift how we measure, quantify, and optimize our efforts, right? I mean, I earlier talked about skill development and getting our workforce ready to be data skilled, shifting focus to be objective, data insightful, quantitative perspective, so that colleagues can learn better decision making based data. And the focus has been to skill up people on Power BI, ClickSense, data visualization, and beyond. And technology has advanced our lives for the better. However, I would say that it takes constant education and adaptability to keep up with the updates. I mean, one of the biggest challenges for L&D practitioners is to be always prepared for the constantly changing world of digital tools and learning technology. They need to possess the equipment that will meet the innovations with confidence and to be able to introduce them to the employees excellently, right? I mean, we have been evolving with so many LMS. Something new comes up in the organization, and it becomes like worldwide, then first of all we get equipped with that. Then we have to talk with so much confidence and make our colleagues equipped with it excellently, that they need to be oriented well enough onto those tools. So we really, it's a challenge for us, but still that is like a constant education and keeping all of us up to date on to all of this, right? So our focus is making sure technology remains a supporter position in the learning process. And I just want to summarize the future challenges again, like constantly evolving technology and advancement. How do we bridge skill gaps we all talked about at such a pace? Not only bridging, how do we identify such gaps? I mean, are we consciously associated with business as real learning business partners? I remember Sonal touched upon in the beginning that how do we really need to partner with business as a part of our learning strategy, right? So when it comes to the role of analytics, we all know the power of learning analytics. They really play a pivotal role. And whether we talk about personalized learning experiences, like analytics that really help us to understand individual learning preferences and progress. I heard someone mentioning once it's a weapon of feedback. And by tracking each learner's performance and engagement, we can customize content and experiences. And this kind of personalization really leads to more effective learning outcomes and I would say greater learner satisfaction. Yeah. Uh, Something that comes to my mind is like, how do we measure learning ROI as a part of learning analytics, where it helps us quantify the return on investment of L&D initiatives. And by analyzing data on performance improvements, skill development, employee retention, organizations can really assess the tangible benefits of their training efforts, which can really help in budget allocation and resource optimization. I mean, we all do it based on the ROI. But I know ROI is a quite a common term for all of us that we all use, but I would further like to build and shift the ROI to VOI, which is value of the investment methodology. It is like assessing the value involves looking at VOI, like in business change. How does this learning supports us on products, processes, and services? Information sharing. How does this increased information flow across the organization? How people are applying their learning, which is like effectiveness of the learners. How do we really bring the speed of decision making on business using these learning VOI? So that's where this ROI VOI, it is the value. We have to really shift from this return on investment to the value of investment. Further, I also want to talk about like analytics allow our teams to continuously evaluate, refine their training materials and methods. I mean, which is a continuous improvement thing, like the data-driven feedback, where we can identify areas the learners are really struggling and making necessary adjustments. I mean, we can all ensure the training remains relevant and impactful. Uh, I also just wanted to touch upon the personal learning scorecards. I remember when I, took up this role, being into technology and into various delivery roles. Earlier, it used to be a dream a decade ago, where we can see individual learning transcripts. But today we can do that. We can see all the personalized dashboards with our learning scores. We use Degree, the Digital Gateway, Workday, and other LMS. They are so robust to make our life easy to see progress for all these individuals' learning investment, right? Uh, Talent management is another piece where these learning analytics can be integrated with these systems to identify all the hypos, all the high potential colleagues, customize development plans. It can really help us and contribute in succession planning. And one of the most important that in my experience, I would say being predictive insights, where these analytics, if we just look at, I mean, we are not talking about the current state, we are thinking another 6 years from now, where by that time we have to see that how these analytics can predict future learning needs based on the historical data, like, by identifying trends, patterns in employee development, how we can proactively plan for future skill gaps and training requirements. So we really need to look into these predictive analysis, reducing the lag between the demand and supply of skills. So I believe the basic measures will remain, but the way we visualizes the use of these analytics will be an integral part of the business outcomes with this data decision making.
Beautiful. I guess you have covered the entire sphere of it. And data analytics has so much of power when you talk about that, the right from the budget allocation till the last, giving them the outcomes and this BOI. It's a new terminologies. It's learning for every one of us. So now data analytics has played a really a good role now. So it is going to be a good one in L&D space, which is going to help all of us. With that, Sonal, so of course, Anju has talked about quite a few strategies how we are overcoming the resistance in the organizations. Anything that you want to add on that? What can be those strategies where we can overcome this resistance? Because we are talking about the technology where we also want our people to get into it. For that, we are getting oriented. We are also asking our employees to get oriented. So there will be some resistance. So how do you think that which kind of strategies can help to overcome that?
I think the resistance that we all face from the learner is again one of those very big challenges that a lot of my L&D peers in this session would agree with. And that can sometimes be really very demotivating when you put in so much of your heart, soul, blood, and sweat into creating these initiatives, which you think are going to be huge, impactful, and these are some very very real challenges and hit you on your face and can be really demotivating. Now, before we talk about the strategies, I think it's important to understand where is this resistance coming from. If the associates are resisting to these to these strategies or to the initiatives, then why is that happening so? and some of the things that come to my mind can be are pretty simple and pretty obvious. Maybe I as a learner do not have an understanding of why I'm undergoing through a program. Why am I being asked to enroll myself and complete this program or to be a part of some initiative that the L&D is running? Maybe at a strategic, at a leadership level, L&D has associated and worked around with creating an intervention or a program, but maybe the learner is not aware of it. So the awareness has to be at a learner level as well before they come and uh, be a part of the program, because it's important that before they join they need to have the right mindset. They need to uh, bring themselves fully into that program, into that whole uh, whatever the learning that we want them to be. So it's a lot of time we see that maybe at their level they do not have a clear understanding of it. Maybe another challenge can be that they don't, even if they understand, okay, this is the reason why I'm being here, but again, bringing in back my the FM channel, what's with me, what's in it for me, what am I going to get out of it, what's the immediate benefit that I'm going to get? If there's no immediate benefit, then what is the long term benefit that this particular program can help me achieve? Is it that my KRAs are going to change? Is it that you're going to be enhance my capability, or whatever it is? They need to know what they're going to be, why they are coming in, and what they're going to be getting out of it. Um, Thirdly, and this one I think Anju, Loveleen, and even I spoke about is having having the business uh, bringing in the business together. So a lot of time, again, like I mentioned, we create a lot of learning strategies in collaboration with the top leadership, but the middle or the first line of leadership for these participants, they are nowhere in the picture. So there's a lot of resistance that do not just come from the participants, but one level up. So again, having acceptance at all level is also very, very important. uh, they also may not be able to see immediate value. So it's very important to have that business alignment for any initiative that we are driving. And sometimes,
Right.
it can be that the organization culture is not really promoting a lot of learning culture. So these are some of the challenges that maybe a few or all of the challenges that we all might have faced at some point of time. And now, how do we? What should be our strategy, or how do I strategize? Uh, some of these challenges are simpler or easier to tackle as compared to the other ones. And what we should always, I mean, this is few of them are some of the things that I always practice whenever we are launching or we are strategizing, ideating any intervention, any program. We always take into account, of course, the business. Always collaborate with the business for any program that we work on, and that makes sure that we have the business buy-in with us. We are able to see them, show them the kind of benefits or the kind of outcomes that this particular program is going to uh, give to them. So that is one thing. And when we are again right from the diagnostics till before the program is delivered, we collaborate and we take everyone's opinion. So if it's a diagnostics that we're doing, we will include the immediate uh set of few set of participants, their first level, second level leadership, take their views, take their opinions, so they know that they're included in the process of creation of what they're going to be a part of. So that brings in a lot of faith. They come with a lot of faith, and they know that how they know my inputs have gone into preparing this program, and this is how it is going to be helping me, or this is what I'm going to be achieving out of it. So again, that's one thing that we always do. I mean, I not just us, but I think majority of again my L&D peers must be doing them, involving them right from the start of the process till the end.
Right.
Then what we can do is highlight those success stories. If a program has been successful, somebody has been able to achieve what we set out for, highlight those success stories. They help in creating a positive environment around it. People know, okay, yeah, these L&D programs are not just one of those getaways for me, but are actually beneficial. So then the whole mind shift happens that we all seek for from the participants. So that's again another important one of the things that we can do. Um, Take their feedback, work on their feedbacks, show them that you've worked on their feedbacks. Or that way, the employees know that, okay, you know what, in the last program, I told them this is what did not go right, or this is what I needed. And, L&D has worked on it. So so then they know, they have that faith, okay, this program is going to be delivered as per my requirements. And if there's something which is not there, they can all I can always share that feedback, and that is going to get incorporated. Then one of the other things that we can do is incentivize the participation. Uh, again, this also I'd mentioned earlier, bring them into their KRAs, provide them boosters, make learning champions within the organizations. And these learning champions could actually promote a lot of promote the entire learning culture. And these days, I mean, a lot of LMSs have leaderboards and a lot of social media attached to it, which again we can leverage. So these are some of the things I think we can do. Again, nothing really fancy, but all of them are pretty basic. And if we do it right, I think we we will be on the right set to achieve the kind of learning culture. If not to the T, but of course, we would have we've started our journey and we would have achieved far more than
Right.
maybe wherever we are today. So just the basics. I mean, a lot of time, rather than getting into the fancy stuff, we should look at if our basics is right. If the basic is right, you're doing everything right at the basic, then, look at the fancier stuff. And basics can help us achieve a lot.
Right, and of course, because when we talk about the basics, and after that, of course, at times it's more of like when we talk about the knowledge retention. I guess this fancier stuff at times they really help in retaining the knowledge, and mostly if we really want to engage our learners, I guess these things really matter. But of course, I second that when you talk about the basics should be right so that we can convince our own leadership team, and that's how we can also bring out that value on the investments. So of course we have really gone, and it's a long pause for Loveleen, but of course I would love to ask you the last very impactful question to you. It's like how really, because right now currently if we talk about L&D is also moving into learning and organizational development, right? So how you think that L&D can play an amazing role as a function in the organization's growth?
Yes, Adi. So when we talk about organization growth, immediately the term growth, we always immediately refer it to the kind of revenue that, it's attached with. So I would say that L&D is also marching towards how it can help generate revenue for the organization. Okay, might be not in the true sense of the revenue that you talk about, but indirectly, right? So, for example, the available pool of resources, who are yet to be deployed, you know, L&D is playing a great role in that. How are we going? How are we going about with it? When we know that there is a target number of employees who have to be deployed, identifying again, talking the same thing in terms of what is that they need to be upskilled, or is sometimes it only reskilling, probably brushing up some of the things they already know, but making them confident about what they know and helping them face the client interview. So it can be in terms of just cultivating the habit of facing interviews in a small mock session, which will help them to prepare. So small activities like this, technically upskilling them, confidently making them prepare for facing the client interviews. It could be the storytelling aspect of it, where they can connect the dots and talk confidently to the client. So preparing them for redeployment and thereby reducing the cycle time to billing is the revenue that we are bringing to the organization, right? So that's the impact on deployment that we can bring in. And of course, the next bigger thing that we that L&D can do is, while if 10 roles have to be, fetched from the market, how many of them can be internally fulfilled? Again, with I talked about, I think all three of us talked about, the concept is the same. It's a core team, which will work together with the business group. I think I call it as core team or evangelist team. I think Anu call it as PDCs, or basically people who have the passion to drive the learning and have the business sense also. See, it's not only with the the passion that we have to drive, but also with the business common sense. All right. So those things, is definitely making an impact on the organizational growth. If L&D is going to contribute even to three or four of the critical roles that we are going to fetch from outside, then it's we are contributing to the revenue of the organization. Right. And now, as we talk about the skill based framework, the competency framework, and all of that, we're very clear about what the individual has to possess as skills. Then we are talking about adjacent skills. We are also talking about future ready skills. So, if there is a clarity, if we slowly bring in into this concept of the key skills, the adjacent skills, and the future skills that is required for the for a particular role or even for a particular account, because people know the account very well. What do they want? Or what does the client want? How is the client foreseeing the next set of project improvements? So all these insights will also help to strengthen L&D in order to make the resources future ready. This is contributing to the organization's growth. We can go on talking about various other things where we are having an indirect impact on the organization's growth. The learning culture. I think again Anju, touched upon it very beautifully. I like the way she, explained how teams together who work passionately can bring about a lot of change in the learning culture, and that's precisely all of us are fighting with, battling with. It's a pull factor versus the push factor. Right. So all these things, I think, what the L&D, the leadership team, along with the L&D leaders, I think we are making a significant impact and contributing to the organization's growth. I would just like to end up with one a small statement in terms of, because we're talking about Gen AI, we're talking about agility and so on and so forth. What I personally feel is agility plus innovation. This AI combined with the Gen AI is going to bring about a big impact on the L&D segment.
That is beautiful because you have only summarized, you have made my job easy. Lovely. Thank you very much. So, of course, this is for the audience because we have really have very in-depth discussion. Any questions we have over the audience, our panelists would love to answer them.
Okay, we have two questions, in fact, from Sahana Reddy. Her first question is, how well should we all be prepared for new technologies as the shift occurs to be more from human-centric to a technology-centric approach? What steps can we take to ensure a smooth transition and that we stay relevant in our technology-centric environment? This is the first question that she has asked. So, I will ask AD to put it
Yes,
across to
Shanti.
Sandhya.
So, because when we are talking about the technology, because this was a question which Anju was talking about. So, maybe Anju, if you would like to address this.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Kiran, and thank you, Adi. And the way Sahana asked this question, in fact, I just read the chat also and the question. So I know that, it will be like a technology, the way technology is evolving, we are moving towards that advancement. It is not going to be there one day. We are not going to transform in our day. But how we can really learn that is make ourselves practitioner, make ourselves from, on that journey and have that agile approach, incrementally work on from one path to another path. So, I mean, today you start with, let's say, Loveleen talked about Gen AI. You start with like an AI person who is getting savvy with AI, but tomorrow you may become AI champion. So look forward to create your own small learning windows, learn from the SMEs and partner with the COPs, like the community of practices. This is how you can build on the technological advancement journey itself.
Thanks, Anju. Kiran, I guess from the chat itself, I'll take up.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to answer the first question? Anybody wants some contribution towards that? Okay, then we can move to the second question that Sahana has asked. With the drastic improvements in Gen AI, how will this affect the TA team? Okay, talent acquisition team. That's an amazing question. And how should we be prepared and prepared for, and how can L&D support this? So I'll first go to Sonal to talk about that, how this can actually affect this Gen AI can help the TA teams, and then maybe we'll move to Loveleen to close the loop.
Yeah, of course, since we got a lot of insights on generative AI from Loveleen, of course we should be taking her views into account. I think I think in fact the it's been really where I mean Loveleen has spoken a lot about how AI is going to be impacting L&D, and all the different ways through which AI is going to be not and be useful for in terms of L&D. Even in my organization, for example, I'll give you an example. We are going through a huge transformation right now, and and there've been certain roles which are on the verge uh, of disappearance because of the change. We are transforming from a traditional distribution organization to a platform first organization. Now AI can play a huge role, wherein some of my front end operations people who were dealing with clients who do not have a lot of communication capabilities, we are helping them make use of AI and transform their roles. So I do not have a lot of capabilities again because these are folks who've spent 10, 12, 14 years uh, doing doing their work in the most traditional way. So for them, transform immediately is not really possible. So then, in such cases, AI is really coming into picture. Make use of all those AI-based platforms, leverage on those platforms, and this way we are making use of the existing workforce, helping them transform into different roles, rather than you know uh, uh, putting them on the bench and then getting new fresh people into the system. So I think the whole change management also we are seeing um, a lot of a lot of help that's coming from these different AI channels.
Right. So, well, lovely, because as you have already mentioned about L&D, how L&D is actually leveraging the entire technology into it. So, what Sonal has mentioned quite a few things, that if somebody is not good in communication, the Gen AI is helping the TA team. So, how do you really think that this is very quickly we'll be doing wrapping up, because of course we are anyway, we have almost extended the time as well. So, yes, lovely. So how you think that L&D can support this?
From a tag perspective, I first answer because I think one of them have asked about the talent. How is this going to help the talent acquisition team? I think there are tools, and coupled with the Gen AI, it is going to throw out the skills that are there in the profile of a person, right? So no, one need not go through the complete descriptive version of the profile. So it'll help. So if you have hundreds of profiles with you, probably it'll quickly throw out the skills that are mentioned, because you'll have those kind of tools. And Gen AI will also help you with the additional intelligence in terms of what is the exact profile in a very, if I could say, a synopsis of the profile can will come very handy to the talent acquisition team.
Perfect. I guess so that answers Shahana, if I'm actually pronouncing your name correctly, Shahana Reddy or Sahana. Yes, Shahana. Okay, all right. So I guess this answers well. And thank you very much, Anju, because for being a little proactive and answering all the questions over the chat room itself. So as we have already crossed our own time, I'll quickly summarize and I'll give back to Kiran. So what we discussed right from the upskilling, reskilling, using Gen AI, the technologies, the new something that the new normal, which is going to come up very soon. And we also talked about the skill based competency framework because we have moved from the role based competencies to the skills based competencies. Talked about the basics. If the basics are right, I guess everything comes into the place, of course, and the business partnerships, beautifully coined by Anju. So the participation and of course the partnership. So both the things are required, thought through leadership, and definitely the contribution that Loveline has mentioned, that contribution towards the revenue is very much something that we have to look into it. So very quickly, one word answer to all the panelists. So the topic itself says the preparing for 2030. So it's reinventing or innovative. Starting from Sonal, reinventing or we need to innovate.
I think it has to be a blend of both. Somewhere
Perfect. I
you have
guess
to
now
reinvent.
Loveline is anyway nodding. Anju, do you have any other answer or?
I think it has to be a blend of it.
Blend.
Absolutely. So it has to be a blend of it. Thank you very much for an amazing discussion, in-depth one, and for all the audience who have been really engaged with us till the last, even if we have crossed 10 minutes. Over to you, Kiran. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atre. I mean, you have done half of my job. So thanks to you, and a big thank you to all our speakers, Sonal, Loveleen, and Anju, for sharing your invaluable insights and expertise today. Your contributions have truly enriched our understanding. I mean, I believe we are now much more prepared for to know what would be the future of our learning and development. And I would also like to extend my gratitude to our audience for joining us and participating in this important discussion. Your engagement and questions have added so much to the event, making it a truly interactive and collaborative experience. So, as we conclude, I hope everyone takes away new ideas and strategies to implement in their own organizations. Together, we can navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead as we prepare for 2030. Thank you once again, all our speakers, our moderator, and all of you who attended today. Stay connected, stay innovative, and let's continue to push the boundaries of learning and development. Have a great weekend, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Goodbye.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
everyone.
much. Yeah,
Thank you.
goodbye.